Okay, let's talk about Vietnam. It's one of the most exciting growth stories on the planet right now, a real powerhouse in Southeast Asia. But if you look just beneath all those amazing headlines about new factories and booming exports, you'll find a really critical paradox. And that's what we need to dig into. And that paradox boils down to this single, huge question. What if the world's next great factory just can't keep the lights on? See, Vietnam has absolutely crushed it. They won the race to attract all this global manufacturing. But now they're facing an even tougher challenge. How do you actually power all that success? All right, first up, let's dive into the boom. I mean, there is just no debate here. Vietnam is the undisputed manufacturing and export champ of the whole region. And the numbers? They're seriously impressive. And look, this isn't just some flash in the pan. We're talking about a structural winner in that global race to move supply chains around. Companies aren't just dipping their toes in the water here, they are building massive, long-term operations. And that kind of structural shift, it fuels some absolutely incredible momentum. You've got the World Bank forecasting real GDP growth of nearly 7%, 6.8% for 2025. That, my friends, is the kind of powerful economic engine that makes the entire world sit up and take notice. And check this out. We're talking about $25 billion. But this isn't just a bunch of promises. This is disbursed capital. That means the cash is already in the bank. The factories are going up. The equipment is already humming. It is real. It's happening right now. Okay, but here's where the plot thickens a little bit. The government in Vietnam, they're shooting for the moon, targeting a staggering 10% GDP growth. Meanwhile, you have organizations like the World Bank saying, whoa, let's be realistic, 6% is more like the baseline. Now, this gap isn't a sign of weakness. It's a huge political statement. It's a signal that they are pushing to overperform no matter what's happening in the rest of the world. But all that incredible ambition is running smack into a wall. And that's what's transforming this amazing boom into a massive potential bottleneck. And this really gets right to the heart of the paradox we talked about. You know, for years, the big question was always, can Vietnam get the world to invest? Well, they answered that with a resounding yes. Now the question is totally different. It's, can Vietnam's own infrastructure even handle all the investment it's already won? The country is literally hitting an infrastructure ceiling. So what is it? What's holding them back? What exactly is this ceiling? Well, it really boils down to three critical fault lines, and we're going to unpack them. Okay, so here's the roadmap. We've got the energy shortage, the struggle just to keep the power on. We've got this lingering threat from property debt. And then there's this really unique political friction that's actually caused by a huge anti-corruption campaign. So let's kick things off with energy, because this is the big one. For the very first time, having a stable supply of electricity isn't just some boring utility issue. It's a direct threat to Vietnam's entire manufacturing dream. Think about it. International investors are now looking right past the cheap labor and asking a much more basic question. Hey, if we build our factory here, will the power actually be on? And this is not some what-if scenario. The power shortages back in 2023 cost the economy an estimated $1.4 billion. That puts a very real, very painful price tag on this problem. It shows you exactly how much is at stake when the grid starts to buckle. So looking ahead, Vietnam's success really hinges on a major shift in focus. The country's next big competitive advantage? It's not going to be cheap wages. It's going to be something we could call grid credibility, the reliability of its power grid. That, right there, is the key that will unlock the next huge phase of growth. All right, on to risk number 2, the property debt domino. We've got a really troubled property sector. And the big worry here is that all the financial stress from these real estate developers could start a chain reaction, a domino effect that could threaten the stability of the whole banking system. And the scale of this exposure? It's huge. We're talking about roughly $70 billion in credit that's tied up in real estate, spread across direct bank loans and corporate bonds. It just goes to show you how interconnected this whole risk really is. Now, this third and final risk, it's a fascinating one because it's a total paradox. Vietnam is in the middle of this massive anti-corruption campaign, which is, a fantastic thing for the country's long-term health. But in the short term, it's actually creating a whole lot of friction. Here's the dilemma. This fiery furnace campaign to clean up the government is absolutely essential for the future, but it's also causing something called signing fear. Basically, officials are getting so nervous about being accused of corruption that they become hesitant to approve anything. And that, of course, slows everything way down. Okay, so you've got these incredibly powerful growth drivers pulling in one direction, and these very serious risks pulling in the other. So what does the path to 2030 actually look like for Vietnam? How does this all play out? Well, you can really map out three possible futures. First, you've got the base case. Vietnam keeps growing at an impressive clip, kind of muddling through and managing these constraints. Then there's the upside case. This is the real breakout scenario, where they actually solve the grid problem and figure out how to speed up approvals. And the downside? Well, that's what happens if all three of those shocks, power shortages, a property crisis, and maybe a global trade downturn, all hit at the exact same time. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? There is absolutely no doubt that Vietnam has the ambition. They want to be a global economic heavyweight. The real question is, can they build the power, and I mean both electrical power and institutional power, to actually make that ambition a reality?